So we'll start now. साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात्। ॐ शांति शांति शांति। Sai Ram, humble pranams at Swami's lotus feet, and here we are yet again, another blissful Sunday that we keep looking forward to, and yet another gem from Swami's vast property of children that he has created that we have today. Brother Abhishek is here with us. Brother Abhishek, committed to Swami's mission, started with his senior secondary or higher secondary school education in Swami School, then continued his graduation in BSc Physics, then went on to do his master's, and as with most of the students who are unable to leave Swami, continued with his teaching profession there. And then I'm sure Swami would have prompted him also to do his doctorate in physics, which he completed successfully recently. And he continues to teach and inspire many more students and creating many more gems who I'm sure we will be listening to in the years to come. Hailing from Chennai, Abhishek's family got into Swami's fold through his mother. Then as always, it keeps expanding, and then that's how he got into Swami's school, and blessed to be part of the Prasanthi Mandir Bhajan group also. And I'm sure that we will be fortunate to listen to some mellifluous, inspiring bhajans also from you, Brother Abhishek, today. So this Sai Govind Satsangh series that was started a couple of years back is blessed to have you here. And then we pray that Swami keeps on inspiring more and more people like you, who will come here and share their learnings and experiences with Swami. So without further ado, it's over to you, Brother Abhishek. It's a Sai family here. Feel free to speak whatever Swami inspires you to speak.
I'm offering myself at Swami's lotus feet. Dearest Swami, dearest organizers, thank you for this opportunity. For me, this is an opportunity to relive my memories with Swami and derive new meanings, new inspirations. And I think that's true for everybody's journey here, that every time we listen to a story, be it the first time or the nth time, every time it inspires us differently. So once again, I thank the organizers. I thank Swami for giving me this opportunity. I'd like to start with a small musical prayer to Swami. Tvameva mata cha pita tvameva tvameva bandhuscha sakha tvameva त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देव श्री साई देव. My mother and father, who is verily Swami, I offer myself and begin this satsang. So as Brother Ganeshan sir said that I came to Swami through my mother. Even as I was born, my mother took me to Swami and Swami touched my left hand and blessed me. And that was kind of, hey, yeah, you've come again. Let's begin this journey together. So even though I was born into what was technically a Sai family, it wasn't until I joined Swami's school did I realize the magnitude of that blessing. To have known Swami, I didn't know what it meant. Swami was just another figure in my life. Swami was just a picture in my altar. I probably used to pray to him before going to exams. I had sung in Swami's presence in my 7th or 8th standard. All the time, Swami was a figure who was, is the God in our altar. And, there was always a certain distance that was there between me and Swami, per se. But it was only when I joined his school did I really begin to love him as one of my own, and through the journey, part of myself. So much so that my life completely changed after I joined Swami's school. I don't remember much of what or how I was prior to joining Swami's school, though I do have some very general memories, but as a lifestyle, I don't even remember what I was doing prior to joining Swami's school. How I joined Swami School itself was a wonderful story in itself, because I was not very keen on. I didn't even know that Swami had a school. I knew Swami had a college, and the institute boys used to run after Swami. I've seen in some videos, so I knew Swami had an institute. I did not know that Swami had a school. So that was the first thing for me, that Swami had a school. Okay. And why would I want to join there? I didn't actually. Honestly, I didn't want to join because that was the age after my 10th grade that I was getting into some company that probably in the long run I wouldn't have wanted to be in that company. A group of friends, just bonding together and stuff like that. Not really doing something productive, but it was just a good set of friends, which I thought I was leaving behind. So I didn't want to join Swami school, but my mother received her instructions from Swami saying that I should come. And in her personal connection with Swami, her indications would always come threefold. So the first time somebody came and asked her, hey, Umpayan 10th, your son is in 10th, no? Why don't you apply for Swami school? And then there was a second person and a third person who was like, hey, you still not applied for Swami school. And these are not people who would usually come and speak about such subjects. It used to be some Samiti activities or something. So when that kind of instruction indication from Swami came to my mother, Then she realized it was Swami's call and she applied for Swami's school. And incidentally, the day that I applied for the school, the day that I sent my application, was one day after the last day where you were supposed to submit the applications. So I was still kind of hopeful that I wouldn't get in. But nevertheless, the call had come. And like, I wouldn't say it's the call from the school, but it was a call from Swami. That was inevitable. That was bound to happen. And I kind of, even though Swami's physical presence was around, that was 2007. I didn't really lend myself fully into Swami's system for about 4 or 5 months. I was homesick and I was missing my friends and all that. It took a while for me to, transition from that life into life as I know it today. But the kind of environment that Swami School provided was so very, very good as I look at it in hindsight. Because every activity, there was prayer involved, or there was Swami involved in every activity. So that was so beautiful to be in Swami's system. So what really took off for me being in Swami's school is that one-to-one connect with Swami. That how to love Swami so much. We've heard stories of how much love Swami has showered on students, and those were the stories that kept me going for a very, very long time. That, hey, I also want this love from Swami, and so I would do things to get Swami's attention, be seen by Swami physically. Although there was in my journey, there was not a lot of physical interaction with Swami. Slowly, the transition did happen from the physical to the non-physical, though it was a painful one. So probably I'll come to that at the end of that journey a little later on. Noise. Okay. So I thought I would start by telling the story of how I got to join Swami's Bhajan group. Ever since I got into the school, I had kind of a desire that I want to sing in front of Swami. I had a classical training in Carnatic music when I was in Chennai. So I thought that was kind of sufficient to get me through and make me sing in front of Swami, but it was apparently, and that came as a shock to me because I thought I was a good singer. And but the style of bhajan singing is so very different, and you had to adapt to that. And it didn't happen for a very long time. But in what I used to do very sincerely is to follow every bhajan session that happened in Parthi in Swami's physical presence. I used to sit and follow every bhajan sincerely. That was probably the only thing I did. I didn't really put in any effort because the kind of instructions that we had to go through to be able to join bhajan group overwhelmed me at first. So in my 11th grade, I was way too overwhelmed. I thought, okay, this is something impossible for me because I have to change so much that I thought that was not possible for me. But I was just still keeping that desire alive that I want to sing in front of Swami. So I used to practice the songs that I know regularly. I used to follow every bhajan session. But then there was one incident where one of the teachers said, hey, your voice is so different from when you had joined in your 11th grade. So maybe if you do a little more practice, probably you can join bhajan group. And that kind of kickstarted a whole lot of things for me. And I intensified my practice. I channelized my practice a lot more to, that was the goal. Now there is a clear end of the tunnel is kind of approaching, and so I should orient my practice towards that. That was my goal altogether. And incidentally, I would know later that that would be one of the most testing periods of my life, because I could see the end of the tunnel, but there were a lot of roadblocks in between. One of the major roadblocks was that in one of the Vedam sessions, there, I was really excited because we were chanting in Swami's presence and all that. So I just shouted Vedam at the top of my voice, and I completely lost my voice. I couldn't sing beyond a very normal range. I lost whatever I already had also. So that became a very, very difficult period for me, because here I am, I want to sing in front of Swami. The goal is almost there, and then I lose my voice. So that became a little intense period for me. So this was when I had heard this particular story. It's a set of two stories, which I had heard from one of the teachers over there. So the story goes like this: teacher, when he was in his younger days, he had the opportunity to do Padaseva, that is, press Swami's feet on a particular occasion. So Swami is lying down on the cot. He is pressing one of the legs, let's say the left leg of Swami, and Kasturi Garu, the biographer of Swami, is doing the same thing to the other leg of Swami. And so after this wonderful opportunity, they were taking stock of how the experience was, this teacher and Kasturi Garu. And this teacher describes that, Kasturi Garu, when I'm pressing Swami's feet, it feels like solid wood for me. It's very hard. I expected that Swami's feet would be soft and tender, but it's very, very hard. Are you also having the same experience? Then Kasturi Garu says, no, I'm finding it very soft and tender only. Maybe something might have been there with Swami's leg on that day. So the next day, the same thing happens, that this teacher is finding Swami's leg is very hard, and Kasturi Garu is finding the leg very soft. So the next day, they decide to exchange the legs. And this teacher is now doing the right leg, and Kasturi Garu is doing the left leg. And amazingly, they have the same experience, that the leg that the teacher is pressing, Swami's leg, that is hard. And the leg which Kasturi Garu is pressing is soft. And then they're exchanging this, and they're wondering, okay, what is happening here? And then Swami clarifies, saying, what you are seeing in my body, or what you're experiencing in my body, is a reflection of your heart. So your heart, it's still hard and it needs to soften a little more. That's why you are finding my leg to be hard, whereas Kasturi has already gone through a lot of my training. Therefore his these are not the exact words, but I'm just paraphrasing kind of what I took from that incident. So please forgive me if it's not accurate. But this was the message, that what is in your heart is getting reflected on Swami's body. So this was one of the inner stories. So this teacher narrated this story to me, and there was another kind of linked story to this. He said that, hearing this experience, this was the experience that he told in one of the Parayanam sessions, one of the Satsangh sessions, when he came to the hostel. And listening to this, one of my seniors, he was 1 year elder to me. It seems he was thinking to himself that, Swami, this is so unfair. I was born so late. Uh, I, I, I don't think anybody can get that kind of a proximity to you. So this is not fair. So he shared this thought process with the teacher, saying, "Sir, you have been blessed by Swami physically to have such an opportunity. Uh, I also want, to be able to do Padasevanam to Swami, but proximity like that is not possible. Can you suggest some way out?" So that teacher said that you pray from morning till evening, from your waking moment till your sleeping moment. Keep this one prayer in your mind that, Swami, I want to do Padasevanam to you. Every waking moment, keep praying that this is what you want from Swami. And nothing wrong to ask, because you're asking for Swami. So that was something that the teacher said. So he said, in spite whether it is exam time or not, even if it's exam time, don't pray for marks and other things, because that will anyway come. The physical presence of the Lord, pray for that chance with Swami, and you will benefit from it. So this was the advice that the teacher gave, and my senior also, he sincerely followed this particular advice for quite some time. And it so happened that he's in his 12th grade. He's going to pass out of the high school, and every passing out batch gets the opportunity of putting up what is known as a gratitude program, where they come together, sing songs for Swami, recount their experiences with Swami. And Swami is also emotional that the boys are leaving. So it's a very, very intimate moment with Swami. So they do it as a batch. And once this program got over, he was sitting in the front line somewhere. And Swami made a very subtle action like this, which was an indication for all the boys to come and sit near him. And because it was very subtle, not all the boys in the front caught it. So he was one of those first few who caught that signal from Swami, and he rushed. And seeing him, all the others also rushed. So because this boy was a fraction early, he got to sit right at Swami's feet. And Swami was interacting with all the boys for about 15-20 minutes. And throughout the 15-20 minutes, he got the opportunity to do Padasevanam to Swami's feet. And so this was such a wonderful experience for that brother. And he went and said this to the teacher again, that, "Sir, you said that prayer would work, and it has definitely worked. So thank you so much for telling me that experience, so that I could also get this opportunity." So this teacher narrated this entire set of two experiences to me, saying, don't worry that your voice is not all right now. You pray that your voice becomes all right, and you sing in front of Swami. That prayer you keep alive all the time. And I was very inspired by this, and I started my prayers. And usually it is not very common. It was not very common at that time that the boys from the school join the Bhajan group. Only when you become, probably into your college time, that was when people would most generally join. And I knew that I was not so supremely talented that I can join right in my high school. I was not so talented. So I stood a very slim chance of getting into Bhajan group. But that was the perspective that was built then. But this prayer started. So I should say this was somewhere mid-August onwards, when I had lost my voice completely. So I tried all sorts of things, maintaining maunam, silence for some time. All those other things were going on, but this prayer was going on super strong that Swami, I want to sing in front of you. So worded differently at different times, but this was the essence of the prayer that Swami, I want to sing in front of you. You have to give me an opportunity. In the institute, yes, I could join, but I want as much of an opportunity as possible. So I want to join right now. And this prayer kept going on for a few months. And my visits to the Bhajan group in charge also kept increasing in frequency. I used to go to him every once in a week. Then it became once in every 4 days. Then once every alternate day, I used to go to him just to ask, okay, what else should I do so that I'm able to sing in front of Swami? And so the system at that time was you had to ask the Bhajan group in charge. He would permit you to ask Swami if you can join Bhajan group. So Swami was, the hero always, that if you asked him, he would always say yes. So that was not the problem. The problem was getting permission from the teacher, because he would put you through a grill like nothing else. Not only would he see whether you are a good singer, but he would also make sure that you had the yearning that was up there to be able to contribute in the group. You had to yearn to sing in front of Swami. And that was a very, very healthy thing. In hindsight, that was one of the best things that happened to me, because of that grill, I went through that much yearning. And because of that yearning, I value every single bhajan that I had sung, I have sung, and I am continuing to sing in front of Swami. So that yearning kept me alive. And finally, so it all culminated when on Jan 13th, 2009, in my 12th class, I got permission from the teacher to ask Swami. And on January 15th, 2009, I got an opportunity to go to Swami and ask him to join the Bhajan group. And Swami gave a nod. And the very first bhajan that I had sung in front of Swami was Raghuvira Ranavira, Ram Ram Ram. So, means for me, the most important takeaway from this entire thing was that prayer to Swami, that you really want something from Swami, you pray for it. And especially when it is something like a chance to sing in front of Swami, or something that is related to Swami, like Swami, I want your darshan. We better be prepared to pray that much, so that when the chance finally comes, we value it enough. So this was one of the incidents that I wanted to narrate. Another incident that I wanted to narrate was related to my exams. So in fast forward to my MSc days, between my first MSc and second MSc, so in my second MSc, I had prepared for writing an exam called the UGC NET exam. And this UGC NET exam is supposed to give you a qualification based on a cutoff as to whether you are qualified enough to be a lectureship or to be a junior research fellow. So so based on the cutoff, you clear either one level or the second level. I had prepared decently for this exam, but I was not, like I said, I was not particularly so brilliant that I could clear it in my first attempt. So what happened was, while going from Puttaparthi, I was a student in Puttaparthi doing my MSc that time. We were permitted to go from the hostel to Bangalore, which was the center where we had to write that exam. So along the journey, I had plugged myself in to listen to some of Swami's experiences narrated by Geeta Mohan Ram. I'm sure you would have heard of her stories. But I must recall one particular story which No, it was very, very, as they say, it had a very great timing because I was going to write an exam. So this experience that she narrates is of her uh, her her bad experience with the subject of chemistry. So much so that it had become a family joke, even with Swami, that if she had a chemistry exam the next day, Swami would come and say, "I gave you papam chemistry. It's okay, just pass and come. That's enough." So something like that, Swami would make a remark which would kind of say that even he has given up on her improving in chemistry, and that was her relationship with chemistry. Um, so there was this one final practical exam that she had to go through. So if she passes that chemistry exam, there was no more chemistry in her life. So that kind of an exam, and she had studied really hard for it, but chemistry being chemistry for her, she had also forgotten everything. And the evening prior to that practical exam, Geeta Mohan Ram says to her mother, "Mother, I'm done. Let me come and have Swami's darshan." Mother says, "See, anyway, Swami is in Brindavan. You can come tomorrow after your exam. No, at least today you sit and study." So she says, "I have studied everything. I have forgotten everything. So there is no point. I'm anyway going to fail tomorrow. At least let me come and have Swami's darshan, because at least that is beneficial compared to studying for this exam." So she comes and sits for darshan, and Swami as usual comes in the darshan line, notices her and says, "Ayo, pakam chemistry, poindi." And then he walks a couple of steps and he stops, comes back, materializes vibhuti for her, and just whispers in her ear saying, "Put this in the test tube, everything will be all right." And Geeta Mohan Ram says that is the only time in her life where she got a 98 out of 100 in chemistry. So, and then she has a very hearty laugh with Swami afterwards. And imagine I'm listening to this experience while going to write a competitive exam. So I was so inspired by this, and then I said, "Okay, let's try this out." This is an exam where we have to mark the answers in an OCR sheet. There'll be ABCD options given. You will have to mark the correct option with a with the darkening of a pencil. That kind of an exam. So I had done my exam, not particularly well, but somewhat to my satisfaction. And I came out of the exam. And usually it is, so before I came out of the exam, I remembered this experience and I said, "Let me try out this." So I took a packet of Swami's Vibhuti. Just when the examiner was about to collect papers, I dropped a little unknowingly onto the paper and then just smeared it all over the paper. I said, "Swami, take care." I just did it out of, I wasn't particularly expecting a rank or anything. So I just done it and come out of the exam. A month from the exam, usually the website gives the answer key to whatever questions were asked. And as you come out from the exam, they also give you a carbon copy of whatever answers you have written, so that when the answer key comes out online, you can compare and see how you have performed. So while all my classmates had done that, they had downloaded the answer key from the website and checked how they have performed. And some were like, "Oh, I've done well. And some others were, "Okay, I've not done well. It's fine. Next time we'll see." I was not particularly interested in doing that because I said, "See, I have offered it to Swami. I have applied Vibhuti. Let him give me whatever he wants. Why should I go and check the answer key now?" That was just a thought. It wasn't some serious thing that, okay, I don't want to check this thing. I just thought there was no necessity for me to check. And then the results were announced, and I had cleared with a national rank of 122. Now I knew that the cutoff to get something like that would have been somewhere in the range of 74 marks out of 200, around 73, 74 marks out of 200. So I thought, I just had this thought, hey, I didn't do that well to clear with this kind of a rank. So let me just go and check back how many marks am I actually getting based on my performance. So after this rank came out, I went and got my answer, the carbon copy of the answer sheet, and I went and checked with this online answer key. And I can never forget the figure that came out of that calculation. I was supposed to get 63.125. And here is Swami with the magic of his vibhuti, just made me pass, got a national rank. I can't take even I can't take even 1% credit for myself for this. This is entirely Swami's doing, that he conferred this. And like in hindsight, after a lot of other considerations in the future, I realized why getting that rank at that time was important. I could have got a higher rank, or I could have cleared the higher cutoff and got a better position, or I could have not cleared also. But that particular getting that particular rank in that range was so important, which I realized in hindsight later on, and that was just entirely Swami's doing. That was the rank that would get me just enough to become a teacher in Swami's college at that time. So I realized that how much ever we may make an effort to do well in certain things, ultimately it is that letting go of that desire for the result, that ultimately Swami gives us whatever is the best thing. So more on this a little later. Another exam related thing happened in one of the other exams, in another competitive exam which I wrote in the same year. I have a very poor relationship with sleep. That if I change my place, or if it's too hot, or if there's too much sound, and any small factor that disturbs my already existing state, I can't sleep. And if I don't sleep, I can't perform well the next day. That was a historically known fact for myself and for others around me. So like this, one more competitive exam was there, and we had to go to the town of Anantapur to write that exam. And that particular day, we had reached the night before, so that the next day early morning was the exam. So we had reached the night before. We were staying in a place which was just super humid, and if you put on the fan in full speed, you'll get hot air. That was the kind of place which we were staying in. So full night I had zero sleep, and I knew I knew that this exam was gone. Maybe next time I can try it. So the next morning we get up, have our breakfast and all that. We reach the exam venue. I just took some time out because I didn't particularly want to revise anything in that frame of mind. So I took some time out. I just said, Swami, thank you for giving me such wonderful education. Thank you for giving me such wonderful teachers, both in my school as well as in your school, as well as in your institute. I really had wonderful science teachers all through my life. So I just mentally started thanking each one of those teachers as I remembered them. I offered that prayer to Swami, saying, thank you for giving me such wonderful teachers who have inspired me in science. And I imagined in that prayer that Swami is blessing each one of them. That's all that I did. And once again, so this was a computer-based exam where you had to click the right option. And once again, I knew I hadn't performed particularly well. So in this, you don't get a carbon copy of your answer sheets or anything. So I was just, okay, let the results come, we'll see. And once again, just sheerly by Swami's grace and blessing, I had got a national rank in that one also. And the national rank was so high, I can't imagine getting that just with my prowess. With my prowess, I shouldn't have cleared that exam also. Only when you reach a certain cutoff, then you start getting ranks. And the ranks start at 1,000 and things like that. But I got a rank well within the top 100. And there was no way. I knew the moment I got that rank that it was purely Swami's doing. And there was no way I could have done that by myself. Again, that was something that I realized in hindsight, that getting that rank was so important for me to come back to Swami's institution at that point in time. So these two exams, the ranks that Swami had given me, were not, I wouldn't say that they were a mark of my educational prowess at all, for sure. I wouldn't even say that it was a mark of my devotion to Swami. No, not at all. Swami needed, I had a prayer that time that Swami, I want to be here for some more time. I want to serve you in whatever way is possible. I was ready to become part of any organization that was started, any of whether it was the media center, which was then Radio Sai, or the bookstore, anywhere. I was just ready to come back to Swami's place in any capacity. And these two ranks were so crucial in getting me back into the institute as part of a teacher and for joining my PhD. And so I'm so thankful to Swami that he provided the right thing at the right time, which was apt and which was very required at that point in time. So these were some of the beautiful things that happened to me as a student. And coming to my journey through my PhD, so I started my PhD in 2014. In 2015, I got the opportunity to join Swami's institute as a teacher. So that became my full-time thing. And I used to do a part-time PhD of sorts. I used to come often to Prasanthi nilayam, spend time in the lab there to do some experiments whenever teaching was not there. So that was how I used to do my PhD. And you can imagine, if that is the kind of PhD which is done, how much time it could take. So that was typically what happened to me, because I primarily did not get enough time to do my PhD. But I never thought of it as something that's holding me back, because I always used to look forward to that, not primarily again because I wanted to do a PhD or something. It was just that it was an excuse to remain with Swami. And every time the topic of PhD arose, I would be given some sort of leeway, and I would be allowed to go to Prasanthi nilayam at times where there were no classes, so that I could go and sing bhajans for Swami. That was more of my primary goal. And of course, I did want to do good work to make Swami proud. So 2014 I started, and 2019 we had published a paper. It was okay. It was going fine. I wasn't really complaining about it, nor was I very happy about my progress. I was just neutral, saying, Swami, take me wherever. And there was this one point where my PhD guide, had to leave the institute under some circumstances, and that kind of put me in a spot for, I would say, about half an hour. When I got the news that my guide was leaving, I was like, okay, it's been 6 years with him now. If I have to change my topic, what would happen to me? Would it take another 6 years for me, or what? I have no clue. And so I was disturbed for about half an hour, and then I realized that, hey, Swami got you into this PhD. He will see you through it. So I made a mental prayer to Swami, just surrendering to him that, boss, you know what's best. I'm not going to ask you give me this or give me that, or complete my PhD and give me. Take care of me the way you deem fit. That was my only prayer. And the way things moved after that, for about a month, nothing happened. And then after a month, my head of the department started those discussions with me as to, okay, what next? Whom should we put as your guide? Should we call somebody from outside? While all this discussion was going on, there was this, I was also trying to find out from other people as to, is there any person who can guide from outside, having some other internal guide. While all this discussion was going on, there was this one brother of mine, 1 year senior to me. He had completed his PhD, and he had gone to Japan for his advanced research. So I was in touch with him, asking if anybody is there. We had an affiliation with the Japan Institute also. So I thought it might be good to collaborate. So when I spoke to him, he pointed me to a particular professor from the chemistry department. Now I'm from the physics department. He pointed me to a person from the chemistry department from the Anantapur campus. There's a women's campus. He said that this particular professor has something similar, a skill set to what you're looking for. Why don't you talk to her at least? So I said, okay, anyway, the suggestion has come, let me try and see. So I arranged for a call with that professor using through my HOD, the head of the department. And in that call, it was a 40-minute call. In that 40-minute call, I realized that this was the blessing that Swami was sending me. So after that call, I spoke with my HOD. I said, this is whom I want as my guide. This is whom Swami is sending me. And if she's my guide, we can definitely do good work and finish soon also. Because that was one of the criterion of, the HOD appointing a new guide, or, that I had to finish quickly also. It had already been 6 years. If it extended a little more, probably I had to deregister from PhD, which would not reflect very well either on me or on the institute. So I was not very keen on re-registering and deregistering and all that. So I said, ma'am, this is the blessing that Swami is sending my way. And so from that was April 2020. And between April 2020 and April 2021, in that 1 year, we completed 80% of the work that was required for my thesis. The whole thing, the beauty of how things fell in place in that last 1 year, it was not even 1 year. Actually, most of the work got over in January, or early end of January 2021. That was like 7-8 months, and 80% of my work just fell in place, thug, like that, and I could see Swami operating there. There was no way that could have happened without the intervention of Swami. And that was another such a beautiful experience for me. If I look at the entire set of events that led to this, there was no reason why that brother had to suggest this professor to be my guide. And because we are across campuses, I'm from the Bangalore campus of Swami's college. She's from the Anantapur campus. Firstly, that kind of sensitivity is there, and and we don't have much physical interactions. So there were 100 things that could have gone wrong in her, for her becoming my guide. But the way everything fell in place, I knew that it cannot be possible by human effort. Such a thing is not possible by human effort, and it was surely Swami's grace that I got that wonderful professor as my guide. She was more like a mother to me, and I really thank her for her wonderful role that she played in Swami's hands. So yeah, so that's a lot. That was my journey of how I joined the Bhajan group, how I cleared certain exams which were required for Swami to keep me with him at that point in time, and how I was able to complete my PhD in a very short amount of time. Just take a small break for water. So that was a journey by itself. Just to lighten the mood, I thought I would narrate some funny incidents in the presence of Swami where either Swami is naughty or Swami is left red-faced without an answer. These are some moments which I like to recollect, just to remind myself that Swami is definitely God, but he came down in the human form to have a personal relationship with each one of us. He's as jovial as we want him to be. He just reflects how we respond to him. So there is one story in Loving God, the book written by Kasturi Garu, that he says he's describing the beauty in the relationship between Swami and Ishwarama. When Swami is about to start to East Africa, the only time Swami stepped out of India, and Swami being incarnation of Krishna, he cannot keep quiet. He has to scratch something. Ishwarama being a very, very innocent, pious woman, she doesn't know much outside Puttaparthi and its surrounding villages. East Africa was unheard of. And here is Swami telling her that, Amma, in the land which I'm going, the clock goes backwards. So this is how Swami is describing time difference to Ishwarama. Clock is going backwards. And in that place, at one point in time, people used to eat each other. Swami is describing cannibalism of the past. And Ishwarama gets really worried, saying, what is this new land that Swami is going to, that the clock is going backwards and people are eating each other. So her motherly instinct kicks over, and she's pouring out to Kasturi Garu, because she can't pour out to Swami, saying, don't go and all that. So he's pouring out to Kasturi Garu, saying, Kasturi Garu, what is this new place that Swami is going to? Tigers, Swami told me that tigers and lions are also there, roaming freely. What will happen? So Kasturi Garu is recognizing the beauty in this relationship, that Swami knows, Ishwarama knows that Swami is God, yet being the physical child, there is a certain protectiveness in that relationship. So Kasturi Garu pacifies Ishwarama by saying, Sama, you don't worry. In the Vedas, I have read, in the scriptures, I have read that whoever chants Gayatri Mantra is protected. So I will make sure that I am traveling right next to Swami and chanting Gayatri Mantra all the time. So that will protect Swami. Now the heart of poor Mother Ishwarama is satisfied. So this is one story that I like to recollect often. Another story of Swami being the naughty one, I recollect, this was an incident which happened in the Prasanthi nilayam hostel for senior boys. So Swami comes to the boys hostel. Swami is usually invited by the students for all sorts of occasions. So this was one occasion where the stores was being inaugurated in the hostel. The stores is a place where boys can buy whatever is necessary for them, like notebooks, pens, pencils, and toiletries and stuff. So Swami was inaugurating this kind of a room inside the hostel so that boys don't have to go outside and buy. So Swami came and all the elders had informed these boys, and they also had an understanding amongst each other that, see, after this program, Swami has to be elsewhere. So whoever are the stores boys, each one of you go and take Swami's namaskar and quickly come off, because Swami has to be elsewhere. Don't take too much time, or don't start having a conversation or giving a letter. You don't do all that for now. We can have that opportunity in Mandir. So everybody agreed for that, saying yes, Swami's time is important. So after the inauguration, each one of those boys is going and taking namaskar in front of Swami. And one of the boys goes and he takes namaskar of Swami, and he's not getting up. He's just there in that namaskar pose, not getting up. And all the other boys, Swami is also not saying anything. He's just looking here and there with a sly smile on his face. And he's having some chat with somebody else. But this boy is still in the namaskar pose, not getting up. All the other boys are wondering, what? We just had a discussion. This boy also agreed. Why now he's taking so much time? Okay, maybe he got emotional or something. So after about a minute, this boy gets up. His eyes are fully red and watering. So all the boys thought, okay, this boy must have had a fit of emotion. So Swami also must have permitted because of his pure heart or something like that. So then Swami blesses everybody else and then takes his leave and goes to wherever he is supposed to go. Then these boys get into a discussion saying, what happened, brother? We just discussed, no? All these emotions, you can control and keep it for later. So this boy says, oh, it was not emotion, more, it was less of emotion and more of pain. You know what Swami did? When I went to take namaskar, Swami held my nostril in between his thumb, that is the first finger of the first toe and the second toe. Between that, he held the boy's nose like that. And like he said, the boy said, I could not breathe, man. It's so difficult. I can't tell Swami also that Swami leave me, because that's also an opportunity for me. But we had this agreement also. So I just kept silent. I couldn't do anything. So the boys all had a hearty laugh. So that's the kind of Swami. That's the kind of these are the kind of stories that got us into believing that Swami is not just a god in the picture. Swami is not a god, not just a god in the altar, but he's there for every single conversation, every single thing that you want to do. He's one amongst us. Time is... so I'll just skip through and come to one last point.
We have enough time, not to worry.
Okay, so this is one more funny incident that I wanted to narrate. I'm not sure if you probably would have heard it already, but so this was one of those times where Swami is inside the interview room, and boys are sitting outside. And when Swami is going through an interview, all the boys sitting outside are expected to be really, really silent. So that was the norm, and everybody was following that. And usually the practice was, if Swami found that somebody was talking or somebody was, distracted or something else, Swami would come and chide that boy, buddhi ledu, useless, and all that. Swami would chide that boy. Since that was the norm, everybody was silent. And there were these couple of boys on that particular day. One of the boys noticed that Swami is peeping slightly through the window. There's a curtain. Swami is just slightly parting the curtain and observing the boys. And he catches Swami's eye. he noticed that Swami is noticing him, and he calls the boy next to him, just taps him and says, "Hey, see, Swami is looking through the window." And both of them catch that. Swami also catches that, and immediately Swami comes out of the room and starts chiding these boys. Buddhi ledu, useless, you don't have any discipline at all. All that Swami is giving one full prasadam session. And this boy, imagine Swami is pouring out his so-called admonition, and this boy is sitting right there at Swami's feet, looking up, and then he's writing something on a chit. He's having a chit below him, and he's writing, looking up all the time. And in the middle of that fire, which is pouring out, so-called fire, which is pouring out of Swami, he hands that chit over to Swami. Swami reads the chit. He goes full red-faced, and then he just, and then he storms out, goes back into the interview room. And the whole student crowd is wondering, what? First of all, the audacity. Swami is blasting you, and you have the audacity to write something and give it to Swami himself. Secondly, means you should have got an even bigger firing after that. But Swami left red-faced. What the hell did you write in that chit? So it seems he had written, "Looking through the window, darling, what do you want to say? If you love me so much, darling, come through proper way." So imagine firstly, the audacity, and secondly, the immense amount of love that that boy must have had for Swami to be able to do that at that time. You can't do that with some sort of ego and then get away with it. You'll be burnt. You have to have that much amount of love to be able to play a prank on Swami at that point in time. And that's my takeaway from this entire incident, that you can love Swami so much like a friend. He's a dear friend. So these are things that have built up in my connection with Swami, that he's a friend. He's there to give you whatever is best. And so after these funny incidents, I just want to kind of end on something that I have been reflecting in the recent past. This is a lesson for me. This is in no way is this some sort of advice for anybody or anything. This is something that I have been reflecting on, and I thought I just want to share this because it came naturally to me that this is the kind of introspection that I'm going through right now. That we all kind of want Swami's grace to pervade our lives. If Swami were to ask us, "What do you want?" most of us in our sane mind would say, "Swami, I want your grace." So what is this grace, first of all? And it's taken me an entire journey from when I came to Swami till now. It has been evolving, and I'm sure it will evolve even further. An understanding of what his grace is. So once I heard this from a person. He said, "Grace is the ability to simply recognize that the master is operating right now through you." Grace is the ability to simply recognize that the master is operating through you. It's already happening. You just have to recognize that it is happening and to allow whatever is coming to us to flow through, to be open and empty at this moment. And with this, I realized one of the incidents came back to me. I had heard from, I don't remember whether I heard from someone or whether I read somewhere. In an interview, one of the ladies had asked Swami, so Swami had asked her, "What do you want?" As usual, this lady says, "Swami, I want your grace." And Swami becomes a little serious for a moment and says, Pichiwada, mental. Do you know what is grace? Grace is that kind of a thing. If you ask me to pour, I will remove everything from you. I will remove your name, fame. I will remove all the crutches that you have. I will remove everything that causes you to have even this much of ego. Ego in the sense, body identification. So this was the essence of what Swami said. I'm again paraphrasing it. I'm not saying the exact words that Swami said, but this is the essence that Swami said, I will remove everything from you, but I will be there with you. Are you ready for that? Are you ready for everything to be removed from your life and have only me? When you're ready for that, you ask for grace. This is what Swami said. And this is something that I recognize has been slowly happening over the last, from 2007, last 15 years. First, it was an introduction to Swami's physical form, right? In my 11th and 12th grade, 2007 to 2009, it was Swami's physical form, running behind the form all the time. That was the sole focus. And then, so there is a small story here. At the end of my 12th grade, I recognized how much I had fallen in love with this form that I wanted to continue naturally. Who doesn't want to be in Swami's presence? So I had done science in my 12th grade, which had the combination of maths, physics, and chemistry. So I had the option. I had two options in front of me when I think that I want to continue in front of in Swami's presence. One was BSc combination in maths, physics, and chemistry, which was in the Brindavan campus here. And the second was the maths, economics, and statistics combination, which was there in Puttaparthi. And naturally, I wanted to take the choice in Puttaparthi because, not because academics was always secondary to us, because Swami was primary. So it didn't matter which combination, as long as I got to be in Swami's physical presence. And so I thought I should apply for this maths, economics, statistics, MES combination. I took the application to Swami also. I said, Swami, I'm applying for MES combination. Swami also blessed the form, not very particularly interestedly, but he blessed the form, and the mind being already where it is, that mind wants this. I took that as Swami's blessing, and I was also very happy. And a few weeks later, Swami came in my dream. He was walking in that dream, where in the physical state, Swami was in the wheelchair at that time, but in that dream, Swami was walking. There was only me and Swami. Swami walks up to me. I was kneeling. I was looking at him. And for some strange reason, I asked Swami, what should I do after my 12th? Again, to this day, I don't know why I asked that question. It's just his prompting. And Swami looked straight into my eyes, pointed finger at me and said, do MPC, which stands for maths, physics, and chemistry. And even in that dream, I'm recognizing immediately that MPC means I have to go to Brindavan campus, which is away from Swami's physical presence. And immediately I shoot back at Swami saying, but Swami, I want to be with you. Swami gives me an angry stare, doesn't say a word, and then just walks out. And I recognize the weight of what Swami is doing, and it's very clear that Swami wants me to do MPC in Brindavan, which is physically away from him. I cannot overstate today, when I look back, how important this Brindavan campus was for me. because my entire inner connection with Swami started from here. And that was such a beautiful journey. I don't think I would have survived Swami's Mahasamadhi if I did not have that kind of inner connection with Swami. The Swami slowly built that. So, I mean, why I wanted to say this was the first and the foremost thing that he gave was his physical form to connect with him. And that was the first thing that he took away also. He took away that physical form to be able to connect with him. And I'm sure everybody here would agree with me that that was one of the most difficult phases in our life. And lots of confusion has happened after that. And right now I'm at a point where Swami is making me realize that everything that I think that I'm using to connect to Swami is only a crutch. I cannot depend on an external factor to want to connect to Swami. It has to be an internal connection. So whether it is a bhajan session or organization work or teaching, these lessons are dawning in me that these can no longer be crutches for me to connect to Swami, but rather these have to be an expression of my latent, already existing connection with Swami. These can only be expressions of our love for Swami, and that the moment we start taking something as a crutch, be sure that someday Swami is going to remove that also, because finally the connection has to come from within. I just want to end with a very, very beautiful experience. Once again, this is Geeta Mohan Ram's experience as to how just the yearning for Swami is sufficient, and whatever needs to come for you will come at that point in time. So Geeta Mohan Ram is a very eloquent speaker, and she is going to give one of these presentations in one of the samitis, I think in the US, if I'm correct, or in the UK. I'm not sure which is the place. But in one of her presentations, she has a slideshow, and there are some pictures of Swami which are being displayed while she's talking. And that presentation gets over. And at the end of the presentation, she is noticing that an old couple, a black couple, is wanting to come up and meet her, whereas but she could not immediately oblige them because all the organizers were congratulating her, and just because they were familiar faces, she had to oblige to them first. And this couple patiently waited till everybody left, and she then finally goes up to them, and apparently they were a French couple who did not know anything of English. Her presentation was in English, so she was not able to understand what they were saying. So she calls somebody who is nearby, who understands what they're speaking. And this is what the old couple is saying. The old couple is saying, "Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. We are a French couple. We don't understand English. It had been a really long time since we had heard about Swami. We wanted to hear more about Swami. We were just praying, and somebody came to our door, on our door, knocked and said, there is a presentation about Swami, which is going to be in French. You go there and sit." So this couple were very happy, and they have landed here. But Geeta Mohan Ram doesn't know French. She has communicated the entire talk in English. And this couple is even saying, "Thank you for presenting so well in French. and having subtitles for the people who don't understand French. You are having English subtitles for those who don't have French, those who don't understand French. So, I mean, the first thought for anybody would be like, okay. And that was her thought as well. She was like, okay, okay, Sairam, very good. So she thought basically the couple are crazy and they're like something. So that whole conversation got over, and she finished the presentation. She finished her tour. Months later, she goes back to Parthi. Swami gives her an interview, and when she goes into the interview room, Swami is saying, Geeta, French lo baga matladavu. You've spoken very well in French. And immediately she connects back to this experience, and Swami also sees that she's able to link what he's saying. And then Swami says, Indira, you think you need any language to hear about my glory? All that is required is the yearning. And the language of the heart will come to you in whatever form that you need at that point in time. So that was such a powerful experience for me, that keeping the yearning alive, which I'm sure everybody here is doing, and that is why you're here in the satsang. That's the most important part, and whatever needs to find you will find its way to you in whatever form is necessary for you at this point in time. I'm sure that I'm not a very great speaker or anything, but whatever experiences that Swami has made me share today, I'm sure each one of you would have taken different things from this. Just one last thing that I wanted to narrate. There was this group of people who had come for Parthi Darshan, and they had got some interviews, some session with Swami, where Swami had showered them with gifts, materialized some rings for them, or given them saris and so many things Swami had given them. And they were all so happy, basking in Swami's love. And they're going back in the train, and these people are discussing with each other. Hey, Swami gave me this. What did he give you? What did he give you? And while they're discussing this, they're noticing that this one boy is just sitting in the corner of the train, looking outside the window, self-contented with himself. And they draw him also a part of the conversation and said, hey, what has Swami given you in this trip? This boy says, Swami gave me darshan. And he says it with so much of genuineness. I mean, that's finally what should matter, especially to me. And this is a lesson for me that, whether it be bhajans or whether it be the work that Swami has given me, the institute, or any sort of anything that is outside of me, I can no longer use as a crutch to connect to Swami. All those things can only be an expression for what love that Swami has already instilled inside me for him. Would like to thank Swami once again for this opportunity. Thank you, Satya brother.
Sairam, so there are some questions that have come up. Okay. The first one was the last question, and I would like to rephrase it slightly. That from in the the age that you described, when we want to be with friends, right? When Swami is there in the altar, and from there you have transitioned to be moving there when that love for Swami sprouted inside, and from there this feeling of wanting to continue to be there, okay, to do anything, okay, and then from there moving on to now being a professor there. Okay, so Sister Preeta wants to know what is it, how did this Are you able to relate to this whole experience of this transformation or the inspiration that was happening inside?
Am I able to relate to?
The way this transformation was happening inside you, or what do you think was that inspiration that was happening at each phase that has brought you to now continue to be teaching there?
Yeah, so like I said, I'm just going to kind of rephrase what I already said. At each point, it was a different thing that inspired me to, first, of course, it was Swami's physical form that wanted me to continue to stay there. Otherwise, I thought after my 11th, I should come back, I didn't even get the subject of my choice. I wanted computer science. I didn't get computer science. So why should I be here? Those are my initial thoughts. From there, leaving aside all of those things to be in the physical presence of Swami. And then, when the physical form was not there, then it was, stories of Swami, what were the stories of students with Swami, how they have connected to Swami, and how I can do the same thing and probably get Swami's attention later. Then finally, when Swami's physical form left once and for all, I used to look up to my teachers because they would tell such wonderful stories of Swami. So that was the structure for me to hold on at that point in time. And then slowly after I finished my education, I said, okay, now the institute is, or any part of Swami's organization where Swami wants to take me in is the scaffold that I want to hold on to. Probably, I don't know, one day that might be taken away, but I recognize that this pattern will hold on, will continue as long as I use that as a platform to connect to Swami. When if I feel that I can't do without that to connect to Swami, that will definitely be taken away. Because the ultimate journey is within, and I have to learn to connect to Swami from within. There is a definite pattern. At each point, the inspiration was different. But in hindsight, this is the pattern, that anything that I used as a scaffold to connect was taken away and will continue to be taken away.
And the question that she has followed that up with is that now having got into this role of teaching, so what is it that would you like to recollect something that you have learned from your teachers, okay, or your seniors that are guiding you in being a teacher?
I've had some of the best human beings as teachers here, and I say that because these are human beings who have been touched directly by Swami. I've seen how they were to me when I was a student. They would go out of their way to make us comfortable, and you want to hear about Swami. They're there all the time, so that being available to the student, I think that was the key thing which all these teachers had given, and that was that if there's one thing that I want to take from them and pass on to my students, it's that being available for my students, whether it's academic problem or a career advice or life advice or hearing about Swami, whatever be, showing to the student that hey, so at this point, one of Vivekananda's quote comes to mind, where he says, if through my actions I have shown to the world a glimpse of my master, then I shall not have lived in vain. This is what Vivekananda says about Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, and that I hope to have given my students in whatever little time I've interacted with them.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, brother. Brother Anand had a few questions. Maybe Brother Anand, it would be good if you ask them yourself.
It is in the flow of the talk that I actually asked some childish questions. Hi, Ram, brother.
We are all children.
We are all children. But I was tempted to ask, because the talk was such a beautiful talk. I was tempted to ask, I mean, there are different ways of earning grace of God and earning grace of Swami. But brother, since you have been with Swami and you've seen him at such close proximity, what are your own experiences whereby you felt that this is the right way to earn the grace of Lord?
I think I'm just going to quote 4 words of Ramana Maharshi, which have guided me at points where I felt I needed. Ramana Maharshi, after a little bit of introduction, says, "Shut up and surrender." So at points where I feel that I need guidance, or where I don't know where I'm going, or Swami, I need to pray for your grace, I just try to shut up, because the mind is so like monkey mind, keep going here and there. I think that's the best way, in my opinion, or in my life, that's the only thing that has worked. I took the example of my PhD, where my guide had to leave, and I could have panicked real bad. But after that, about half an hour of discomfort, I said, "Swami, take over, because you know what's best." The moment I've noticed this, I've noticed this pattern in my life, that if I start to think that I know better, I'll always get a hammer whenever it's required. So I think for me, it's best to just shut up and surrender.
Yeah, very well said, brother. Very, very well said. I've gone through several such experiences in my life where I've experienced Swami's grace. And maybe some other time I will be happy to share more in detail. But my second question is, am I allowed to ask more than one question?
Sure.
Of course, brother. Please feel free.
Okay, Sairam. Well, I normally don't get dreams. I probably may have got dreams in the last 10 years, 3 times, about Swami coming and saying something very clearly. But the most recent dream, so in recent times, I got 2 messages. One was I lost my dad in February 2020. And Swami came in my dream during Krishnastami, and he actually came. I saw my dad's face in Swami. That was one dream that I very distinctly remember. And in the second dream, more recently, that I got, Swami, as a young boy, as a youth, comes and materializes gold Shivalingam. And I'm actually staring at the Shivalingam because it's gold. And this is early in the morning. And by the time I could, and he passes it to me, and then I carry it, and I see that there's a lot of vibhuti it's covered with a lot of vibhuti. And the fragrant sense of vibhuti is all over the room. And I'm asking other devotees as I go out of the room, what is the meaning of this? And they're not able to answer that question. So the dream then basically abruptly ends, and I get up, and I'm actually looking at the watch. I'm looking where I am, and I see it's early morning 4. What do you make of such dreams, brother? So what is the indication of such dreams? Not only that, also, I'm sure that Swami must have told many of his students, or you may have also experienced dreams. How do you interpret such dreams?
I'm the poorest choice of person to answer this question, because the only dream where Swami gave me a clear instruction was the one where I narrated that Swami said, do MPC. The other dreams have been more of darshan or something like that. And there's this one dream which I will I can tell you. I was going towards Swami. Swami was sitting in the wheelchair. Swami was blissed out in that dream. And I asked Swami, what is the way to realize that you and I are one? And Swami just gives me a chuckle and says, just sleep and eat. Now, I don't know what that means. I told my mother this dream. And she says, see, Swami is telling you to take care of your body. So for a mother, that's the immediate interpretation. But deep within, I know that that's not the interpretation that Swami wants me to take. There is something that will uncover over time. When I'm supposed to understand it, I will understand it for sure. And I know that I cannot get that interpretation from outside of me. So if anybody can interpret your dream correctly, it's only you, brother. Sorry.
I'm actually now writing a book about my dreams. I've had about 9 dreams, and I thought I should actually capture it in the form of 9 gems, and that's what I'm doing. 9 chapters, 9 gems, 9 dreams, and also 9 positive. There's so much of negativity in the world nowadays, so I'm planning to actually also include 9 chapters about 9 miracles I've heard or I've seen in my own life during my trips abroad. But Sairam, brother, very lovely hearing you. Actually, I had one more tough question. Not a tough question. I had as a scientific question. That will be my last question. Then I'll really shut up and surrender. Okay. What is the role of quantum physics in spirituality, brother? You're a physics expert. I want to hear from you. How do you associate quantum physics and divinity, or quantum physics with spirituality?
Quantitatively, I've told you how poor a physicist I am, that I keep receiving national ranks without even deserving it. But quantum physics does have some interesting takeaways. Firstly, the symbol psi, the wave function. It's just like our psi. It has all the information within it. What operator you apply on it, you'll get the appropriate information from that. That psi is a reflection of what operator you apply on it, right? So our psi is also like that. If you are a child, he is your mother. If you are a man, he responds to you like a man. If you're a woman, he responds to you like a woman. He's a child among children. So that psi is not very different from this psi. And yes, in probably little Advaitic terms, the observer is at the heart of everything that happens. So the observer is not these eyes, but the one who makes these eyes work. So I think yes, quantum physics is deeply connected to spirituality. Right? Measurement is key to everything that happens, right? So
Sairam. Very nice. I have a selfish reason why I asked that question. I just started a company known as Quantum Innovations.
Wow.
And it's going to be focused around mental health. There's a lot of mental health issues in the world. So I thought that this is something which is a calling for me. Sairam.
I will probably reach out to you for selfish reasons if there is some collaboration possible for within the institute.
Sairam.
Are there any other questions from anyone else?
Yes, Sairam, Brother Satya. Just it's time.
Brother,
The invocation was very nice, Brother Abhishek, but I thought the invocation was going to culminate into Bhajan. Because Twameva Mata, the way you started, I thought it is going to end with Sai Pita or Mata. So can I request for a Bhajan?
Definitely. Sai Pita Mata Sai Pita Mata Deen Dayala Data Sai Deen Dayala Data Sai Sai Pitare Mata Sai. Sai Guru Sai Sakha Sahodara. Sai Guru Sai Sakha Sahodara. Sai Satya Shiva Sai Sundara. Sai Satya Shiva Sai Sundara. Veda Upanishad Gita Sai. Dina Dayala Data Sai. Dina Dayala Data Sai. Sai Pitare Mata Sai.
Sairam, brother, thank you very much, Sairam.
Thank you so much. And Brother Abhishek, that answered all the questions. All right. Swami is everything. Okay. And as you said, shut up and surrender. It's all about shutting up with this ego and identifying that Swami has been telling us that you are also God. Okay, and only when you shut up, you will be able to even start realizing that, which we do not want to do. We keep, not wanting to do that. And I think that was a beautiful lesson of the yearning that you spoke about all along. So yearning, all of us who have had that physical proximity to Swami had that yearning for the physical proximity. But actually, after that, we did not know what to do, right? So, and such a beautiful lesson that we have learned today, that yearning is all about shutting up and then identifying and looking inwards and realizing that Swami that is within each and every one of us. Okay, and then after that, there is nothing else. There will be no more questions. There's nothing else to do. And then everything is Swami, like you beautifully sung and concluded this whole session. As we keep saying, the Sai Govind Satsangh series also is going on week after week. And the little bit of shutting up and surrendering we are doing is to ask Swami to keep inspiring us week after week with his lessons. And he has brought yet another beautiful lesson for us today. And such a powerful 4 words, I'm sure none of us here will forget, Brother Abhishek. Thank you so much once again. And
Those are not mine. So
sorry?
it's not me who's. Just to be on the safer side, I think I should disclaim that the disclaimer is that those 4 words are not mine. It's Bhagavan Ramana Maharishi's. So
Yes, but it is Swami's, it is will that it has to come through you, right? Speak through you to all of us today. That's what he does every week, speaking through one of his gems. He picks the people through whom he needs to talk also, right? And he
Definitely.
also picks us to be able to listen to that. Like Brother Anand said, we keep having a lot of questions and we don't have answers. But I'll tell you, week after week, we come here and we do keep getting answers to a lot of those questions, which is why, we can't wait for the next Sunday. So thank you so much, Swami, and thank you so much, Brother Abhishek. And look forward to next Sunday. As always, we do not know who the speaker is as of now. Okay, but he knows, and then he will prompt that very soon, and we will share with all of us. Okay, so we will close with 3 Samasta Loka. Maybe Abhishek, you could chant it with your mellifluous voice. And then thank you, Swami. Thanks to all of us for joining today on a Sunday. Sai Ram.
Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti शांति। जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय।
Thank you, Sai Ram, to all of you. Spread the word around. Please bring us more and more devotees who can share such beautiful lessons. And please do join us whenever you have time every Sunday. Thank you, Sai Ram.
Sai Ram.
Sai.